Hi, I'm Mark. This is Mark's Tech Vlogs on YouTube, and today I'm going to bring you guys a review of the new Switchbot Meter Pro with CO2 monitoring. Now at the start of this video, I want to tell you that Switchbot have sent me this to review for you guys, but as with any company that reaches out, I always say if you're going to send me something, I'm going to make an honest review. And I've been working with Switchbot on that basis for quite a few years now, and they're always up for honest reviews. So that's what you're going to get in this video. I'm going to tell you exactly what I think of this device. And this is one of two brand new meters from Switchbot. There's this, the Meter Pro with CO2 monitoring, and then there's the cheaper weather station which doesn't have the CO2 monitoring feature. And that weather station model basically does everything this one does apart from the CO2 monitoring. So if you're looking to see if that's an option, you can look at everything I'm going to say in this review. In terms of price, the one with the CO2 monitoring costs around £60. Now there's quite often discount codes available on both Switchbot website and on Amazon, and so I'll put links to both below. I've also got a discount code for the Switchbot website which will get you 10% off. So let's jump into this review and talk about design. So if you've seen any of Switchbot's other meters, the design is very similar, just a bit larger. It basically has an LCD display on the front, rounded bezels and a white body. That display has some built-on colour indicators but is generally pretty simple. The rear has a kickstand but also space to hook on a screw if you want to wall mount it. It's also on the back you can find a battery compartment for two AA batteries, but also a USB-C port if you want to mains power this. Overall, the design is pretty practical but nothing groundbreaking. So let's talk about spec. So inside this device is a precise NDIR Swiss sensor, and that can refresh as often as every second. How often it refreshes will depend on if you're using batteries or mains power. It also has a built-in speaker that can be used for alert sounds. You can configure these in the app. When it comes to battery life, it can last for up to 12 months on those two batteries, or of course you can just power it via USB-C. They do actually throw a USB-C cable in the box as well. Now if you go for battery power, CO2 levels are updated every 30 minutes. You can force refresh this in the app. If you use mains power, they're updated every second. Now this connects to your phone via Bluetooth, and if you want to take advantage of some of the out-of-home features, you are going to need a Switchbot hub as well. It will connect to that via Bluetooth. Now if you do pick up a hub, you're going to want a Switchbot Hub 2 or a Hub Mini with Matter support. That's because it is Matter compatible and can expose the temperature and humidity sensors to places like Apple Home. That's what I've been using it with, and it's been working pretty well. If you configure your location in the Switchbot app for your home, the display can also show you the 12-hour weather forecast. That's in the form of just a little symbol saying what's coming up. The top part of the display also shows you the time and date. This makes it a pretty useful device just to have on your desk. In addition to that, you can actually tweak where the data and humidity temperatures displayed on the device come from. That means if you've got a Switchbot outdoor meter, you can choose to display the metrics from that on this device rather than the ones this device is actually picking up. For third-party services, as I said, it's Matter compatible, but it also works with things like Alexa, Google Home, IFTTT, Siri shortcuts, and SmartThings. To take advantage of those, you are going to need one of those hubs that I talked about. In terms of storing data on the device itself is stored for up to 38 days, and in the Switchbot app up to 2 years. And then finally, it's worth noting that this is not IP rated. This means you can't use it somewhere like a bathroom or outside. So let's talk about setup. And setup, as per most Switchbot products, is really simple. It's as simple as removing the battery tab, opening the Switchbot app, hitting the plus in the top right hand corner, and then finding the device. It'll then talk you through the process of adding it. At that point, you can give it a name and assign it to a room, and also go into a Switchbot hub if you want to and expose it to Matter. From there, you're also then going to want to go into your Apple Home app, for example, and also assign it to a room there. The other thing you're going to want to do is calibrate that CO2 monitor. And then it just kind of does its thing. So let's talk about using it, because that's what I've been doing for the last week. And basically what I've done for the last week is I've just had it sat on my desk where I work. And essentially it does everything it should. Now that display is nice and clear to read, and the comfort levels are nice and easy to glance at. The CO2 measurement also has sort of traffic light indicators at the top. And all of this is just nice and easy to glance at and read. One thing to note is that the display doesn't have a backlight. Now there are a few things that you can tweak for this device in the Switchbot app. That includes whether that little icon in the bottom left shows in or out. And of course, if you're going to hook this up to show the temperature and humidity from your outdoor sensor, you're going to want to change it to out. If, like me, you hook this up to a Matter compatible system like Apple Home, then the readings it takes for humidity and temperature also go across to your Apple Home app. Because I've got a HomePod Mini on my desk as well, but also has a temperature and humidity sensor built in, I've been able to compare the readings from both, and they pretty much match up. Whilst this isn't a completely scientific representation of whether the temperature sensors in both are correct or not, and the same for humidity, it does tell me both are reading the same. This is a good indicator that the Meter Pro is doing its job. The only thing I can't really test for accuracy is the CO2 monitoring. Going back to using the device, if you want to toggle between Celsius and Fahrenheit, you can do that with a button on the top of the Meter Pro. And then if you want to do things like view historic data, you can do that in the Switchbot app. It's also here you can set alerts for certain conditions. That can be alarms on the device itself, but also notifications to your phone. You can get alerts for things like temperatures, humidity, CO2 concentration, absolute humidity, dew point and VPD. That is vapor pressure range. In the Switchbot app, you can also tie any of the above into automations and scenes. So perhaps you want to trigger other devices based on a reading from this meter. For example, maybe if the temperature drops below a certain level, you want to toggle a smart plug hooked up to a heater. Or if humidity goes above a certain level, you want to toggle a dehumidifier, again hooked up to a smart plug. You can work with any other Switchbot product in the Switchbot app. And of course, if you expose that temperature and humidity sensors to Apple Home app, you can tie it into any device in your Apple smart home. That means you could set an alert that turns your light red when humidity reaches a certain level. But all in all, what's the verdict on this Meter Pro from Switchbot? And this Meter Pro has a decent sized display, the ability to be mains or battery powered, and it can read a lot of things like temperature, humidity and CO2 levels. And when it comes to talking about whether this meter's good or not, it does a lot of things very well. And I would say in using it, little things like having the weather and the date and the time at the top of it make it a really useful kind of on-desk device to have. Of course, being able to tie it into your smart home with automations, whether via the Apple Home app or the Switchbot app, are both really nice things to have as well. The main thing to note is that if you want to get the most out of it, you are going to need to have a Switchbot Hub 2 or a Switchbot Hub menu with Matter. And unless you're really bothered by the CO2 levels, I think most people might want to actually consider the cheaper weather station option because it is about £20 cheaper. If you do want to pick up the Meter Pro with CO2 monitoring or the weather station option without, I'll put links to both below. There'll be links to Amazon, which will go to whichever country you're in, but also to the Switchbot website. There's a voucher code as well where you can save 10% off your order on the Switchbot website. Both of those links are affiliate links. That means if you make a purchase using one of those links, I'll get a very small cut of what you spend. That helps me keep this channel going. This isn't my full-time job. I don't get paid for these reviews or take sponsorship. I just want to share my thoughts with you guys. If you got any questions, do stick them below and I'll answer those for you. Give this video a like if you found it helpful, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys again soon.